Have you ever wondered why the rich get richer and others don't? Could it be that a small percentage of the population seek out others to find, study, and execute on legal loopholes that exist within our financial life and make it easier for them to prosper? The answer is a resounding yes. This is the Secrets of the Wealthy podcast with John Mintz. John has spent a lifetime researching and mastering the financial loopholes that he believes should be available to everyone. Join us as we explore different strategies that help you get farther faster towards building and enjoying a prosperous retirement.
Hello and welcome to the Secrets of the Wealthy with John Mintz. John, how are you?
Hello, Eric. Well, the good Lord let me see the sunrise again today, so that makes it a good day.
Absolutely, and I don't know about you, but it was beautiful here, so I was really happy to see it, and kind of woke me up. That's good.
Yeah, likewise here. We're getting low to mid 90s these days, which is kind of early for us, but we're enjoying it immensely. Not a ton of rain, so lots of pool time.
Oh, there you go. That's a blessing. All right. Well, I know that the topic for today, and actually probably the next two podcasts, because we're going to break this up into a two-parter at least, is the top 10 questions to ask your advisor. And you've said before that you've many times that people come to you for a second opinion, right?
They do, yeah. And a lot of times they come to me and then they have preloaded questions they want to ask me. And then sometimes I've got to stimulate them and get them to ask me questions just because I'm really into education and making sure people are learning. So, yeah, absolutely. That's correct.
All right. Well, you've given me a list of questions. Can I just start firing them at you?
Well, yeah, that'd be okay. But I want to start first by just kind of giving everybody a market recap.
Perfect.
As you know, the market's they're not really cooperating right now. But I want to just go back in my time machine a little bit here. And I think it was mid-February, we recorded the episode labeled, "Is a Market Collapse Imminent?" I'm sure you remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was released March 2nd, but we recorded it mid-February. And here's a paragraph from the introduction to that podcast. It says, "In this episode, John uses logic, numbers, and facts to explain why the stock market may soon take a turn for the worse. John provides a logical argument that can help you critically analyze whether you should consider making a move or riding it out." And so, unfortunately, we were correct in our diagnosis of that podcast, and things certainly have taken a turn for the worse. And I think not only is a market collapse imminent, it is here, right? And then the one after that, we recorded early March, and that one was the impact of rising interest rates. And, one of the paragraphs there, we said, whether you're looking to obtain a mortgage on a home or looking to finance a vehicle, the rumored rise in interest rate could cause you to think long and hard before making such a commitment with your money. Well, rates certainly are climbing, and it's having an impact. In fact, the other day, my executive assistant, her name's Tammy, and she's pregnant with her soon-to-be third child, and so she was looking for a larger vehicle, and went out and was searching around and looking for a car, and had needed more size, larger family, needed more room for the family, right? Found an 2018 Expedition, 81,000 miles, and told me her monthly payment would be $750 a month.
Gee, Christmas.
So, to say the least, I think that they're going to find a way to make the existing car work. So that's what I meant when, rising interest rates have an impact on all of us. And so, goodness, it is having an impact and then some. Today, I think gas has increased 9 days in a row. Gas prices have increased now 9 days in a row and hit a new all-time high each one of those days. Now, today is, as we're recording this is May the 20th, just to kind of put things in perspective when people listen to this. Crude oil is at 113 now. Mortgage rates, as of yesterday, are now at 5.9%. We're mid to high twos back in November. And the Dow is now down 8 weeks in a row, first time since 32. So the S&P's down as we're speaking here about 19% year to date. The Dow down 15%, and the NASDAQ is down 28% year to date. And so I say all that, and people may know some of those things I just mentioned. They may not know some of those things. Maybe they didn't want to know some of these things. But, I'm a firm believer that for every math problem, there's a math solution. And that's what we're talking about here, right? Is numbers. But you can't provide a solution if you don't know what the problem is. And so I'm a firm believer. I want to know what the problem is, because if I know it, I can most likely fix it. And then that's what the Secrets of the Wealthy podcast is all about, is helping people understand and find solutions that other folks, wealthy folks in some cases, are using that they may not know about. So that's what we're all about. So today we're going to talk about some questions, maybe some questions that you are asking your advisor and that you've read on the internet that's important to ask, and then maybe some questions you aren't asking that you should be asking. In fact, one question that I get a lot, and I giggle internally every time I get it, because I don't want to laugh out loud, because I don't want them to think I'm laughing at them. But I get a question all the time: are you a fiduciary? Now, if you look up the word fiduciary, the layman's definition of that is putting the client's best interest before my own as an advisor. That's the definition of being a fiduciary. So if anyone's asked, are they fiduciary, are they ever going to say no?
Yeah.
If they do, you better run.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
So, and somewhere along the way, someone through marketing made it seem like that, you have to have special licenses to be a fiduciary. You have to have special this, special that. It's just marketing. Everyone that's in this business should be a fiduciary, bottom line. So anyway, that's the question. That's maybe the question you don't necessarily need to ask, but we're going to talk about some you should be asking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about the fiduciary issue before. I mean, yes, it's absolutely great, but at the same time, like you said, who's going to say no? So, we'll just skip that one. All right. So number
please.
1 on your list is, what's important to you? What is your financial planning philosophy?
Yeah, I think, and I put this right up top, I think this is the most important, by a long shot, the most important question that you could ask. Because if an advisor struggles to answer that question, what's important to you, or why did you get in the business, or what's your philosophy when it comes to planning? If they struggle to answer that one, they're probably doing it and in it for the wrong reasons. So, one thing we say all the time is that we kind of refer to our firm as a doctor's office, or I've referred to myself as kind of like a doctor at times, and that it's just a good analogy in many different ways. And so I say all the time, no one dies on my watch. And what I mean by that is it's kind of our little signature inside of our firm that no one has ever run out of money in retirement on our watch. And we just aren't just going to let that happen. And there's things that we do and things that can be done to make sure that happens. But we know that that's important to us and should be important to them. And then the second thing is, I think I told this story way back in my first or second podcast, but if you didn't go listen to that, you'll hear it again. But early on, my father beat into me, it's really important to leave things better than you found them. We had this rental house, and we were going to be moving. I'll give you the short version. We're going to be moving, and he had us cleaning that thing from top to bottom, cleaning it way more than the way we found it, or the way it was when we moved in. And I just was complaining, or asking him why we're doing so much cleaning. And he just looked at me and said, "Son, we always leave things better than we found them." And so that is what's important to us also, whether someone comes to us, referred to us with not very much money or significant amount of money. Either way, it's our objective to leave them better than we found them.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. All right, number 2 on your list is my retirement strategy on track? And so I would assume this happens a lot when you are giving a second opinion.
It is. And, we get kind of back to that same thing again that I just talked about, is not running out of money. That a lot of people worry about that more than they worry about death. And, there's an old saying in this business, if as an advisor, if you come to me for performance or returns, you're going to leave me for performance or returns. And so that, that was kind of, I learned that early on, and that really resonated with me. So, we believe in focusing on strategy versus returns. Now, not obviously we have to get returns in order to perform, but the strategy is so much more important, which thus the question is my retirement strategy on track? So, and we build things from a worst case scenario. So if you're managing your assets on your own, or you have an advisor that's assisting you with that, if you're not taking the time to build in worst case scenarios and see if that strategy will hold up, then you may get yourself in a position that you don't want to be in. So, for example, for years and years and years, we use the term stress test. So we stress test our current strategy and plan against several different things that could happen. So, for example, real time, we'll take the average inflation rate, which is 3.24% over the last 108 years, and we'll raise that up to 5%. Now, we've been doing this for quite some time, and people thought we were nuts, when inflation was 1.9%, and here I am testing it against 5%. And I tell them, I know this seems crazy, but this could happen, and if it does, we want to make sure we're still going to be okay. Well, I was testing 5. I didn't know it would go to 8.5. And so, and that 5 is an average over time. So, and that 8.5 obviously isn't going to stay there forever. But the point is, if we've tested against that and it still holds up, then we're going to be okay. Well, what if taxes go up? And what if markets crash? What if all three of those things happen at the same time, right? Is our strategy still going to hold up against all of that? And so that is something we do internally. And I think that's a question you should be asking when you're going in and doing reviews. And then there's the difference between the accumulation system, what I call that's hard to say, accumulation system, and the distribution system. So when you move into retirement, for example, okay, I'm going to pull up a calculator here so I can just kind of run a number here, all right? So if I have $1 million, for example, at retirement, and let's say I'm taking out $40,000 a year and paying normal fees of 1%. And let's just say the next 10 years are the same as the 10 years between 2000 and 2009. All right, so $1 million taking out 4% a year for it to live on. And the markets repeat themselves like they did 2002, 2009. At the end of that 10 years, I would have $415,000 left. So I would begin to get a little bit concerned, right? And so some things are going to happen at that. So here's that strategy being tested against worst case scenarios, right? And so some would argue right now we may be in a worse case scenario than that decade. But here you are at the end of the decade, 10 years, and maybe you're going to live 30 more or 20 more, 10 plus 20, 30 total. You've got another 20 years to go, and you've just cut over half of your assets gone. And things are costing more, but you're still taking $40,000. So now you have to say, what am I going to do now? Let's see, I'm either going to have to take less and change my standard of living, or maybe get a part-time job if I'm capable, or let's see, move in with my kids. Wow, that sounds attractive. Or you see that the predicament now?
Oh yeah.
And all because we didn't stress test it. Now, if we were to look at the same scenario, okay, but we just take out the volatility and just get a flat 5% return, that 1 million becomes 1.1 million 10 years later, even taking the 40,000 out. And so, not saying we could get a flat 5% return, but I'm just saying that it's really important to think about your strategy and the ways that you go about doing that. So, sequence of returns, meaning if you have losses early on in your retirement, it's hard to catch back up, especially if you're taking distributions. Really, really important to think about that in your strategy. So that was a long answer to a short question, but I think it's really important that you're talking to your advisor, or you're sitting down with yourself and saying, okay, let's stress test this and make sure I'm on track.
Absolutely. All right, John, the next question on your list is number 3. Is my retirement income protected for life?
That's a good question. I know mine is. I don't think that enough people ask this question, because I don't think it's something that's really discussed a lot in the financial planning practice world, where we're talking about protected retirement income. We should be. So, back in the day, 30, 40 years ago, when pensions were kind of really, really common throughout households, there was something called the 3-legged stool of planning, which was Social Security was one leg, a pension was the second leg, and then personal savings was the third leg. And as long as you had all 3 of those legs, you still wouldn't topple over, right? Well, things are a little bit different now, and a lot of folks don't have pensions, or they're a dying breed for sure. But folks are going to be needing guaranteed retirement income that's going to outlast them. And so let me give you an example of why it's really important that you're asking your advisor about guaranteed or protected retirement income. So, for example, let's just say that I am just a managed money advisor, or I'm an individual that, again, manages my own funds, and I have $500,000 sitting in my Fidelity account. And let's just say between, my stocks and bonds and whatever my mix is, I plan over the next 30 years to get 4% return. And I'm going to pull out $4,000 a month to live on. Okay? And so, and I do that monthly. Now, again, I'm not taking more as time goes on like I really should be, because if things are costing more, I kind of have to inflate that. I'm just saying a flat $4,000 a month. So how many years would you guess it would take before we run out of money in that account?
Oh, so you're pulling out 4,000, but did we talk about how much you're making every month? No.
No. Just the understanding is that to meet my needs, whatever my needs are, the understanding is that I've got to pull out $4,000 a month to make my spending needs.
I can't imagine it lasting more than about 12, 13 years.
Yeah, you were really close, 13 to 14 years.
Okay.
That's right, 13 to 14 years.
That's not enough time.
No, now wait a minute. No, it's not. It's not enough time. Now let's just say the $500,000 gets cut in half, which in some people's portfolio that may have just happened. So let's just say it just got cut in half to $250,000. Same return, same amount. I still got to live. Pulled out. So now how many years? 5 to 6 years it's going to last. So this is a problem, right?
Yeah.
And so this is why discussing and asking the question about retirement income, protected, I want to use that word, key word, protected retirement income for life. So, if you talk to your advisor about retirement income, and he says, oh, when the markets do this and this and this, we're going to be fine, and I guarantee it, and so you ever ask? Maybe you should ask this follow-up question. Well, if you're certain I'm going to be fine, when I run out, or if I run out, will you keep sending me the check from your proceed from your income? Because you sound certain I'm going to be okay. So we'll test his certainty, right? Yeah. Real fast.
I can hear it. I can hear it in the office. That's all they're going to be doing. They don't know how to answer that.
No, but these are the kind of questions, and I encourage them. I tell my clients all the time, ask me the toughest questions you could think of. I said, for starters, I was raised by 3 really competitive brothers that beat me to it. Tarred and feathered me, and then I had a West Texas, rancher, hardworking Baptist minister that also raised me in a very tough way. You can't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
So ask me whatever tough questions you need to ask me. But anyway, this is, you could take that same $500,000, right, and build it into a guaranteed retirement income annuity that would actually provide you with income for life, and the projected income on one that I ran just this week would be over $4,000 a month. And that $4,000 a month could increase on an annual basis and never run out. No matter what the markets do, wouldn't matter. And so, this session, this podcast today isn't about talking about fixed income annuities or income benefit annuities, but it just makes you ask the question as to why are you not being offered this, and why is it not being discussed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can answer that question. I think the fact that a lot of advisors just don't know, and they don't do enough research on all the different ways they can help their client. They have pretty set systems that they like to propose and say, well, this is what we feel is best for you. And it's because that's what they're familiar with. And that's a problem.
That's true. That's true. Very much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, number 4, the fourth question in this podcast, and we're almost going to be done because we'll have to break this in a couple podcasts. Am I saving tax efficiently? And boy, that's a big question.
Yeah. We could maybe spend one whole podcast on that one, right?
Yeah.
But I won't do it. Yeah. So I don't get that question very often. So this is one of those questions where I remember earlier in the episode here, I said, I've got to help my clients ask me questions. And this is one of them because, am I saving taxes is different than am I saving taxes in an efficient way. And I talk to people about having a macro approach to saving taxes versus micro. Macro being, I want to save taxes over my lifetime, not just this year. And so I think this is a big miss. In fact, I have individuals come to my office and they say, John, I have talked to my advisor. I brought this up to my advisor several times about how I want to save taxes. And it just, for whatever reason, it keeps getting swept under the rug. And I don't understand why he doesn't want to talk about it. Well, I don't understand either because I don't know their advisor. But I know in a lot of cases, doing things like Roth conversions, for example, that allow us to move from a fully taxable account to a tax-free account. There's work involved with that, and it usually relate to extra revenue for the firm. And so I don't know if that has something to do with it. Probably not. A lot of it has to do probably with what you said on the previous question, which is they just don't know. Yeah. Because I think most advisors out there, have their heart in the right place, and they want to do the very best job they can do for their clients. They just weren't raised in an environment where they're forced to learn how to utilize the tax code to their client's best interest. So certainly. But here's some follow-up questions to that question. So, first of all, how much of my retirement, if I'm the client here, how much of my retirement assets are in qualified accounts? What percentage of my total assets are in qualified accounts? Is it 30%? If it's 50%, I have clients come into my office and it's 95%. And so if that's the case, the next question is, well, what's my tax burden?
So give me a second here, John. When you say qualified accounts, let's just clarify what that means.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Sometimes I forget that not everybody knows these terms when I've been doing it forever, right? Mm-hmm. So a qualified account is any account where the tax has never been paid.
So like a 401k.
Yes, sir. 401k, 403b, IRA.
Got it.
457. There's many of them out there,
right?
I
didn't know there was a 457.
Yeah. You see a lot of firefighters. Some nurses have 457s. Mm-hmm. So these are all pre-tax accounts where the money we've gotten a tax break when we contributed the monies into these accounts. Now the money's coming out and we're going to have to pay the taxes. So that being said, we should know what our tax debt is, meaning we have a debt to the IRS, right? And it hadn't been paid yet. And they haven't determined what our interest rate on that debt is going to be, interest rate in this case being the tax, until we pay it. And so that's the first question. The second follow-up question is, well, what's the plan to reduce this burden? And then third is, what is the plan to counter future tax increases? Now, I could argue this is the most important questions, plural, you should be asking your advisor right now. And if you're not getting answers to those questions, you need to keep looking till you do.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, John. I've had the privilege of working with many, many advisors over the years in different capacities. But when I was coaching, one of the things that I heard quite often is after something like a market drop happened, after 2020, I was working with a few, and I heard that they got some new clients because of that. And the reason is because when things happen in the market and tough things happen, some advisors, they kind of just hide under their desk because they don't know how to handle it. They don't know what to do. You're out here educating, and people need to hear from their advisors. They need to understand what's going on with their accounts. This is their lifeblood, and they know that for their retirement and so on and so forth. So it's not uncommon to hear that after an event like this, people, good advisors are getting new clients because people are trying to find somebody just to talk to them and just tell me what's going on. So I love the fact that you just addressed that in this last question. We're pretty much out of time for today. We got through 4, which is great, but you've got so much more information. Any final thoughts for today's podcast?
Well, I guess I'm going to have to learn how to talk more efficiently too. So, again, I'm going to get 4 out of 10 questions out, but I love what I do, and that's a good idea. Let's close this out today, and it'll be fun continuing next time. But we would be more than happy to talk to anybody that has any of these things on their mind, or they're just dadgum, they're just darn right scared right now, right? Mm-hmm. And just need somebody to tell them everything's going to be okay. Well, we're those people. Give us a call, and they can reach out to us at 817-225-6260. We'll also put our website at the bottom of this episode, so if you want to reach out to us that way, you can do that as well.
John, thank you so much for your time and what you're providing for the audience and me. I appreciate it.
Thank you too, my friend.
You bet. And thank you for tuning in and listening to the Secrets of the Wealthy podcast with John Mintz. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when John comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. And I'm just going to straight out ask you, please share this with them, because during these uncertain times, people need to hear a voice that will say, hey, give me a call. Let's talk about it. And he's sincere when he says it. So please take advantage of that. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at the Secrets of the Wealthy, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Secrets of the Wealthy podcast with John Mintz. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of John Mintz. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.